So let's please start at the beginning.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about your wrist.
Okay.
First, show me that. Does it work? All right. So it works.
Yes.
Okay. You got to use your wrist, man. Okay. We were talking over here. His wrist didn't move the entire time, did it? Okay. And that's going to open up so much in what we need you to do if you have some motion here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, can we start at 1 and we think about your wrist? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So let's,
Make rehearsal 1.
so we had one of the conductors earlier. We had them just doing this. Okay. Just do this with your wrist only. Okay. Nothing else moves. Just your wrist. Okay.
Okay.
Wrist only. Nope. Look. You're not moving your wrist. You're moving your forearm. See the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's try again. So you're moving here. Okay, which is different than just moving here. Okay.
Okay.
Wrist only. Do it again. Keep going. Keep going. Wrist only. Does that feel weird?
A little bit,
Okay.
but it feels like more rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you can't have somebody come up and grab you, right? But you just have to have that wrist going. Okay. So I'm okay with you add a little bit of the rest of your arm in there, but you have to have that wrist motion. Okay. That's what's going to give us the nice light style, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go again. All right. And continue to think more wrist. Okay.
Okay.
More time. So, okay. Stop again. We can't have that wrist motion if our hand is sideways, right? So turn that hand over. Okay. That's the only way we can get this. We can't do that if we're like this. Okay.
Mhm.
So turn that hand over. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Remember that exercise that Dr. Zastoupil had somebody do with their setup here? Can you do that for me real quick? No. So straight across with your arm. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. And then put your elbow where your index finger is. Okay. Does that feel different than you were set up before?
A little more forward, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's tough to do things when we're back here. We kind of have that T-Rex thing going, right? So think about that setup. Okay. Keep that wrist turned over this way instead of this way, and that's going to free up everything else, I think. Okay.
Mhm.
So good starting position. Okay. Now let's start at 1 again with that better setup.
Okay.
Okay. So still thinking about wrist. Good. Now, you're not allowed to scoop, okay? We can add that in later, but let's don't scoop, okay? Think of a different way. I think you're trying to show the accents, okay? Can you show that accent without scoop it up like that.
Mhm.
Okay? So, okay. So an accent, I think more down this way, right? You're focusing more on the rebound on those accents. Think more downward motion than upward motion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, try that. Down. Good. All right, so now do it without conducting every single beat. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple people that have gotten up here, we've talked about kind of minimum or economy of motion. All right, you don't need to show every single beat. Okay, so you know how like you do Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah.
So you're limited to like your number of characters, right? I'm not on Twitter, but I mean anyway. But I have to send out reminds. You know what I'm talking about? I will have so many like letters so you're using up too many characters. Okay, so what can you cut out and still get the same message across? Okay, so first thing is you don't need to conduct every single beat. Okay, so we only have 100 and however many characters. Okay, so what can you cut away?
Okay.
Good. All right. So do you remember what he was saying before about this is articulation and this is phrasing?
Mhm.
Okay. Can you try to implement a little bit of that now?
Sure.
Okay. Still thinking about what we can get rid of. Okay. But think about the articulations and think about the phrasing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you do this thing where it's like you give your right hand a turn and then you give your left hand a turn. Okay. So how can they work together but convey different information? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll go over here and like, oh, now it's the left hand's turn. Okay. Can both those hands kind of work together to do the same thing at the same time instead of taking turns? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. Try that. Good. Okay, good. I think that's already better. Okay. Now we're still got some little scoopies that you do. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know what you call it, but you feel yourself every now and then you'll kind of do like this kind of motion. I mean, we all have these motions that we do, right?
Yeah.
But that seems to be like one of your go-tos is kind of
Scooby.
yeah. What are you trying to show with that motion?
I feel like I do it a lot when I'm leading into a downbeat. Yabba-dabba-dum.
Okay. Do you need to?
So no.
You're using up characters, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how can you show that without doing that? I mean, think about all the things that we've talked about already.
What you said of giving a little more weight down into the downbeat, so
Okay.
rather than
So let me go back to something that this was early on. He talked about the prep, the action, and the follow through, right? Okay. Without the prep and the follow through, it's all just choreography. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So think more about the prep and less about the action. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So I think the prep is what's missing, and otherwise you're just kind of doing choreography to what you're hearing. Okay? And I think that extra scoop that you have to me, it just feels like choreography, and it's not doing anything to create that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? Let's try it one more time and think about all of that stuff.
Okay.
How can you show the same thing using less words? Okay?
Okay.
Don't scoop, don't scoop. Okay? Good. Good. Does that feel different?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks a lot different, okay? So every now and then you get this extra hitch in your elbow, right? So try to get rid of those. You know, we build up habits over time without even knowing it, right? So when you watch the video, I really want you to watch what you do with your elbow, and you don't want, this is going to create problems, okay? Trust me, I had rotator cuff surgery about 6 months ago, and it was awful, okay? And it's because I use too much shoulder when I conduct, okay? And part of that is that you use too much elbow sometimes, right? So if you can't move your elbow without moving your shoulder, right? So get rid of that extra motion and think about that wrist, okay? Like we did in the room earlier, we're painting on the, you know, the wall or whatever. Do you ever just go up against the wall and just practice doing, you know, this kind of thing, okay? You've got to use this way more, okay? Agree with it, disagree with it. I once had somebody tell me that the more musical, you get more musical, the more you get towards your, you know, this. I mean, if you just conduct with your shoulder, that's not very musical, right? But you add your elbow in there, that's a little bit more musical. Add your wrist, that's even more musical. Now add your fingers, it's even more musical, right? So if you don't have this, then you're not including everything that can contribute to the musicality of what you're trying to do. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. How much time do we have? You want to say anything, Dr. Zastoupil?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your stimulus value?
What do you mean that's?
Perfect. I'm glad you asked. Stimulus is the message. Value is the strength of the message.
Okay.
That's a question you should ask yourself whenever you conduct anything. What is my stimulus value? Meaning, what is the message and what is the strength of that message?
Okay.
Okay? Pick anywhere you want to go. And I want you to think about that. What is the message you are trying to send? And what is the strength? Doesn't mean how big it is, how fast it is, but how convincing are you? One time I asked a buddy of mine, Ryan Beach, who now has this really cool podcast. He took some principal trumpet auditions and won one. He was in Indianapolis, principal trumpet in Indianapolis for a while. And I asked him, I was like, what do you want from the conductor when you sit in a professional rehearsal? And he said something that was interesting. And he said, you need to convince me that your interpretation is better than mine. Because with professional players, they all come with an interpretation, right? Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when Gail Williams, she's now retiring from Northwestern, but she came down to Dallas to play with the DSO before they went on a trip over in Europe. I took her out to lunch. We went to a Mexican restaurant, as you should in Dallas, right? And I said, well, how are rehearsals going? And she's like, well, we're playing, I can't remember what Mahler symphony they were doing. She goes, well, we stopped and the conductor told me I'm supposed to play the solo like this. And I go, but that's not how it goes. And he told her to do it one way. Well, they went back and did it. And Gail just did it the way she wanted to do it again. And the conductor was like, okay, just left her alone. I mean, it's Gail Williams, for God's sake. She's not going to tell her what to do. She's like probably the most amazing horn teacher on the planet. Point was, though, same concept. That conductor did not convince her that his interpretation was better than hers. So she's going to do exactly what she thinks is the right way to do it. So again, what is the stimulus value? What is the message? And what is the strength of that message? Okay, pick any spot you want to go. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Let's do rehearsal 3, please.
Okay, good. Tell me what was your message without telling them. Just very softly.
Second time is larger and more contrasting.
Okay. Okay, did you get that?
I think so.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you could be more convincing.
More.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's be more convincing.
All right.
You had a message, but how strong was that message?
Yeah.
You know, think about that in anything you do in life, right? Like someone gives you an email or a message or a phone call or something, an advertisement. You know, hey, you should take this. Your life is going to get longer if you take this pill. You know, you're like, what? What? And then if somebody goes, you'll live 500 years if you take this. Right? It's the same message, but there's a different strength. Okay, let's try again.
Let's try. Okay. Same spot. Rehearsal 3.
Yeah, good. Yeah. You know, I think back to, you are like the opposite of soon-to-be Dr. Bonner. Dr. Bonner's stimulus value is on all the time. Your stimulus value is on like 3% of the time. If we could just take a little bit of you and dump it over there and take some of him and dump it over here, you know, so your stimulus value is stronger. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying with this, though? You remember when Mark conducted, right? There was extreme stimulus value. There was a message, and there was a strength behind that message. You have a message, you just need more strength behind it to convince them how to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a heady concept. But you're finishing your master's degree, so you're smart now. Okay.
I know it all, right?
Yeah, you know it all. You're a master. Okay, thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take another short break. We'll be back in 11.